everyone, welcome to Crafty Yarn Owl with Darla. I'm Darla. So for the green top, what I did was I used this Hobie Cotton King Sultan Shadow. I bought 2 lucky bags a while back and there was a green one in each one, so I doubled them. They are considered a sport weight, but even when I doubled them, I think it's still a sport weight because of these individual little hair-like threads. Now there's 8 hair-like threads in here, and still it still looks like it's a sport weight. So this colorway is black/green, which is number 03, 100% cotton. There are 200 grams, 875 yards in one cake, and like I said, I doubled it. Let's see, and so this is what I had left. I doubled 2 cakes. Okay, this is what I had left. And I started off with row 1, which is a single crochet row, and then I did row 1 and 2 in a, this is actually 4mm, it's rubbed off. And then 3 to 8, I used a 4.5mm, and then 9 and on to the end, I used a 5mm. Now you don't have to use different sizes, you can stick with one size. I just like it to flare out a little bit on the bottom, make it a little looser, give the tummy a little bit more room. That's just me, you don't have to do it that way. Now for the yarn I used for the tutorial is this Lion Brand Ice Cream Roving yarn. This is a medium 4 weight, 100% acrylic. There are 200 grams, 437 yards per ball, and this colorway is Shirley Temple. I used 1 whole skein, and then I got into a second one using about half of it. And the hooks I used was, I started with a 6mm, and that was for row 1 to 5, a 6.5 for row 6 to 10, and then a 7mm for row 11 and on. And again, that's just me making it more lacy, making it just a little more loose, and making a flare at the bottom. Yeah, you don't have to do that. You could just use one size hook all the way through. And of course you'll need a pair of scissors, a darning needle, and 4 stitch markers. I hope you enjoy this tutorial. We'll be starting at the top. Make a chain that's going to fit your neck. It will stretch a little bit from the weight of the top, but if you think you need your neckline a little smaller, use a smaller hook. If you need it a little bigger, use a bigger hook. All right, so this top is going to grow outwards and downwards as you make it, and I show in the video where to try it on, or when to try it on, to make sure that it's going to fit you. And if you need to take out a couple of rows, or you need to add a couple so that it will go around your girl area, then do that. All right, so these little cap sleeves form as you're making it. You saw on Peggy. And then once you get to a certain point, you just work around and around and around until you make it the length that you want. So there's a few different stitches in here. There's this shell stitch. There's these puff, we'll call them puff stitches. There's single crochet up here. It's actually quite easy to make. It works up quickly, especially if you're using thicker yarn, and these stitches here work up quickly. So yeah, let's get started. Now we're going to make a chain of 84. There are no multiples, it's just 84. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now make sure your chain is straight, and we're going to hook the ends of it together to make a circle. Just slip stitch right through both ends, and then we're going to chain 1, and in that very same stitch we're going to make a single crochet, and then we're going to make a single crochet in every chain all the way around, and then you will end up with 84 single crochets. I counted and I have 84 single crochets. So now what we're going to do is slip stitch into that first single crochet we made. Okay, now we're going to chain 5. Now that's going to count, the first 3 count as a double crochet and then a chain 2. And then we're going to make a double crochet right into that same stitch. And this is going to be one of our corners. Okay, so I'm going to mark this with a stitch marker just to keep track of where that corner is. All right, now we're going to skip 2 stitches, 1, 2, and we're going to go into the next one with 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet. Okay, so that was 2 double crochet, chain 2, and 2 double crochet. And then we're going to skip 2 stitches, 1, 2, go in the next one with the same thing. 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet. Okay, do that again, skip 2, go in the next stitch with the same thing, 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet. So 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet. Okay, so we've done that 3 times. We need to do it another 3 times, and I'll meet you after that. Now we have our 6, I'll call them fan stitches. Okay, now we're going to skip 2, and then we're going to do another corner. So we're going to put a double crochet, chain 2, and a double crochet. Okay, that's our next corner. We're going to have 4 corners all together. And now we're going to skip 2, go in the next one with that fan stitch. Okay, so double crochet, chain 2, and 2 more double crochet. And then skip 2 stitches, go in the next one with that fan stitch again, double crochet, chain 2, and 2 more double crochets, all in the same spot. Okay, we've made 2. We're going to make 4 more, just like we did here. We're going to have a total of 6. Okay, so go ahead and do that. All right, so we have our second group of 6 fan stitches. Okay, skip 2, go in the next one, and we're going to make our corner. So it's a V-stitch, double crochet, chain 2, and double crochet. So this is our third corner now. Put a stitch marker in there. And then we're going to make our fan stitches again. Skip 2, go in the next one with double crochet, 2 double crochets. All right, 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochets. Okay, skip 2, go in the next one with 2 double crochet, chain 2, and 2 double crochets. And continue on till you have a total of 6 of these fan stitches. Okay, I've completed my third set of 6 of these fan stitches. So now we're going to skip 2 and we're going to make the last corner. All right, so double crochet, chain 2, double crochet, put your stitch marker in, and then we're going to make our last set of those 6 fan stitches. The last, yes. Skip 2 and then put double crochet, chain 2, and then 2 more double crochets in the same stitch. Skip 2, put 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet in the next stitch. And continue doing that, putting your, excuse me, 6 fan stitches. And when you get to the end, you should have 2 single crochets left. I'll meet you there. All right, there's our last 6 fan stitches. We're at, excuse me, we're at the end of that row, and I have 2 single crochet stitches left, and that's what we want to have. So now I'm going to slip stitch into the top of this chain, into the 3rd chain. Just slip stitch right in there. And then we're going to go right into the center of that V-stitch, slip with a slip stitch. And then we're going to chain 3, and that will count as a double crochet. And then chain 2 more. And then go back in with a double crochet. What we're doing here is putting 2 V-stitches separated by chain 2 in this one V-stitch. Okay, so we have 1 V-stitch. Now we're going to chain 2 to separate them. We're going to go back in with a double crochet, chain 2, and a double crochet. Okay, so that's a V-stitch, a chain 2, and then this other one is a V-stitch. So we have 2 V-stitches separated by chain 2 in this V-stitch. When we come back around, we normally, or what I've done before, is put a V-stitch in the V-stitch, but we're going to do something different with this V-stitch and that V-stitch. But in the chain 2, we're going to do our regular V-stitch separated by 2 V-stitches separated by chain 2. But when I meet you there, I'll show you what I mean. Okay, so in this next fan stitch, we're just going to go right into it and make a fan stitch. So 2 double crochet, chain 2, and 2 double crochet. In the next fan stitch, do the same. Go in that center part, that chain 2 space with 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet. Go into the next chain 2 space in the middle of that fan stitch and make a fan stitch. 2 double crochets, chain 2, 2 double crochets. So keep doing that until we get to our next corner. You can move your stitch marker. I forgot to do that. Going to move our stitch marker into that chain 2 space that separates these two V-stitches. So put it right in the middle. It's just easier to find when we come around again. Okay, so we have those 6 fan stitches. This is the corner. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then we're at our next corner. So we're going to make 2 V-stitches separated by a chain 2. I mean one, yes, that's right. 2 V-stitches separated by a chain 2. Okay, let's do that. So a V-stitch is a double crochet, chain 2, and a double crochet, and then their chain 2 that separates them. Make another V-stitch, which is a double crochet, chain 2, and a double crochet. Okay, let's look at that. One V-stitch right here, another V-stitch right here, and right in the middle is a chain 2 that separates the 2 of them. So let's move our stitch marker into that chain 2 space. And then we're going to go right back into those fan stitches and make fan stitches. So 2 double crochet, chain 2, and 2 double crochets. Okay, continue on making your fan stitches in these fan stitches. And when you get to the next corner, do the same thing we did in the other 2 corners. Make 2 V-stitches separated by a chain 2. And continue doing that until, here's another corner, until we get to the end of this row. And this would be row, if I count the single crochet row, that's 1 row, 2 rows, 3 rows. We're working on writing down on the 3rd row. Now we're at the end of row 3, or the 2nd row of fan stitches. So now we're going to slip stitch. Okay, this is our corner. We're going to slip stitch into the top of that chain 3. Okay, and then we're going to slip stitch right into the center of that first V-stitch. And then we're going to chain 1. And now we're going to make 3 double crochets together. So you wrap your yarn, go in the center of that V-stitch, grab your yarn, pull it through, pull up a loop, and pull through the first 2 and stop. Wrap your yarn, go through that V-stitch, grab your yarn, pull it up, and then wrap your yarn, pull through 2. So you have 3 on your hook. Wrap your yarn, go in that V-stitch, grab your yarn, pull it up, grab your yarn and pull through 2 again, and now you have 3 on your hook, 3 loops. Grab your yarn, pull through all 3, and then chain 1. Okay, now we're in the center between this V-stitch and this V-stitch. So right in that center, we're going to put 2 V-stitches separated by chain 2. So make your V-stitch, that's a double crochet, chain 2, and a double crochet. Okay, then we're going to chain 2 to separate them. This is your second V-stitch in that same space, double crochet, chain 2, and double crochet. Okay, so there's our V-stitch and a V-stitch. In the middle is a chain 2. Put your stitch marker in that chain 2 space. So now we're going to go on to the next V-stitch, which is right here. And we're going to do the same thing we did over here. We're going to do 3 double crochets together. So wrap your yarn, go in that V-stitch, grab your yarn, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. Yarn over, go back in the V-stitch, grab your yarn, pull up a loop, yarn over, go through 2. Grab your yarn, go back in that V-stitch, grab your yarn, pull up a loop, wrap your yarn, go through 2. So now we have 4, and we're going to pull through all 4 and then chain 1. All right, now we're back to our shell stitches. Just go right ahead and make a shell stitch. 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet. Okay, so let's see what we have. Okay, we have those 3 double crochets together in this little, I'll say it's a cluster. And then we have a V-stitch, a chain 2, and a V-stitch, all in this one V-stitch. And then we have a little cluster again here. And then we have our fan stitch. So just go ahead and make your fan stitches in these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for a total of 6. And then when we get to this first V-stitch in this corner, I'll again show you how to do the 3 double crochets together. Okay, I'll meet you there. All right, I've made the last fan stitch and we're back at the corner, and we know that because we have a stitch marker in there. All right, so we have this first V-stitch, that's at chain 2, and then that's our second V-stitch, all in this one V-stitch on the bottom here. So we're going to make that cluster of the 3 double crochets together. So in that first V-stitch, so yarn over, put your hook in the middle of that V-stitch, grab your yarn, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. Grab your yarn, go through the center, grab your yarn, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. Grab your yarn, go through, grab your yarn, pull up a loop, yarn over, go through 2. Okay, now you have 4 on your hook, and go through all 4, chain 1. Always chain 1 after that. Okay, so this is the center of those 2 V-stitches right here. So we're going to put 2 V-stitches in there, separated by a chain 2, like we did before. So make your first V-stitch, which is a double crochet, chain 2, and then a double crochet. That's the first V-stitch, chain 2, that'll be our space between the V-stitches. Then put another V-stitch in that same space. Double crochet, chain 2, and double crochet. All right, this is the next V-stitch. We're going to do our 3 double crochets together, the cluster. So yarn over, go into the center of that V-stitch, grab your yarn, pull through, pull up a loop, wrap your yarn, pull through the first 2. Yarn over, go through the V-stitch, grab your yarn, pull it up, yarn over, pull through those first 2. Wrap your yarn, go in the center of that V, grab your yarn, pull up a loop, and yarn over, pull through the first 2 so that you have 4 loops on your hook. Yarn over, pull through all 4, and chain 1. Then we're back at our shells, so just go ahead and make shell stitches in the next 6 shell stitches. So that's a 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet. Okay. So that's how it's looking. I'll meet you at the end of this round, and we'll go into the next round, which will be, what are we on? We're on row 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So the next one will be row 5 that we start together. Now I've just put my last fan stitch in there. This is the end of row 4. And then when we start row 5, we're going to see that we have that cluster of 3 double crochets. So I have a problem with my throat today, sorry. In this stitch right here, where you see it's long, we're going to go right in there with a slip stitch. All right, slip stitch to end the last row. Then we're going to chain 1, and then we're going to do what we did before. We're going to put a cluster of 3 double crochets together. All right, so yarn over, go right back in that space, grab your yarn, pull it up, yarn over, pull through 2. Yarn over, go through the space, grab your yarn, pull it up, yarn over, pull through 2. Wrap your yarn, go through that space, grab your yarn, pull it up, and go through 2, and then you have 4 left, and go through all 4, chain 1. All right, so let's look at the next. What we have next is we have those 2 V-stitches that are separated by this chain 2 in between. We're going to make the 3 double crochet together in this next V-stitch. So the only time we're ever going to work V-stitches into V-stitches again is in this chain 2 space where we put a V-stitch, a chain 2, and a V-stitch. Otherwise, in the V-stitches, we're going to be putting these clusters. Okay, so the next V-stitch, yarn over, go into it, grab your yarn, pull up a loop, and pull through 2. And then do it again, pull through 2, and pull through 2. And then you have 4 left, pull through all 4, chain 1. Always chain 1 after that little cluster. Okay, now we're in the center. where our stitch marker is. Sorry, boy, I don't know what's going on here. Okay, so now we're going to make those 2 V-stitches separated by a chain 2. So make the first V-stitch, which is double crochet, chain 2, double crochet. Then we'll make the chain 2 and then make another V-stitch. Double crochet, chain 2, and double crochet. Okay, and then in that chain 2 space between those 2 V-stitches, we're going to mark that. Okay, and then we have this next V-stitch right here. We're going to work into that with 3 double crochets together. Okay, so go ahead and do that. Okay, pull through all 4, chain 1. Now on this next one, we're going to go through that big space up there with the 3 double crochets together. So go right in there. Okay, chain 1. Now we're back to our fan stitches. We're going to put a fan stitch in each fan stitch along like normal. Your 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet. Continue doing that in your fan stitches, and I'll meet you at the next corner just to show you again how to work that. All right, we're still on row 5 here. We're coming up to the corner. These 2 cluster stitches and this corner. So I've done my last fan, and then we go over here to this cluster stitch, and we're going to do a cluster on top of that. Let's go in there, pull up a loop, pull through the first 2, wrap your yarn, go through there, grab your yarn, pull it up, pull through first 2, wrap your yarn, grab it, pull it through, pull through the first 2, and then pull through all 4 and chain 1. All right, so the next thing is a V-stitch right before the center of those V-stitches. So we're going to put that cluster in there, those 3 double crochets. Okay, chain 1. So we'll do those 2 V-stitches separated by the chain 2 right in the center of those 2 V-stitches. So it was a double crochet, chain 2, double crochet, chain 2 to separate them, double crochet, chain 2, and double crochet. And put our stitch marker in the center. And then we're going to go to this next V-stitch and do our cluster of the 3 double crochets together. Okay, as long as you end up with 4 on your hook, you know you've done it right. So pull through all 4 and chain 1. And then this next cluster, we're going to put a cluster right in that, the biggest space there. So go in there with your 3 double crochet together, cluster. And chain 1. And then you go back to doing your fan stitches. So this, I really like these fan stitches. They work up pretty quick, and I think they look so pretty. What do you guys think? Okay, so as you get to your next row, you're going to be putting, see this center of the corner? In the center of the corner, you put your 2 V-stitches separated by chain 2, but in here you'll put your 3 double crochets together in there. So you end up with these little puffy stitches going up instead of having V's. You'll have these puffy stitches going up. So continue on with that, and I hope it's easy to understand. And once you get the hang of it, of course, it whips up so fast, guys, especially when you use a bigger yarn. Like this one is a 4-weight. All right, I'll see you soon. Now, after you've made several rows, this is what your piece will look like. So what you do at this point, or around this point, is try it on. Put it over your head like that. And then what you do is you take the back and the front and just put it at the corners like that. And then you determine if this width is going to fit you. Otherwise, if it's too big, take out a couple of rows. If it's too small, add more rows. And then try it on again like this. And these are going to be the underarms, and we are going to have to sew it just a little bit on each side. And now I'm going to show you what the next step is once you figure out if this width will fit you. Now what we're going to do is have our piece folded over, and then we're going to connect the corners together. So I'm just going to remove one of these stitch markers from the back. We don't need that. So take your stitch marker and make sure it's in the center of these 2 V-stitches in the corner, right in that chain 2 space. Put your stitch marker through there, and then do the same with the back. And do your other side. We're going to start working around the bottom to lengthen your top. Okay, now I have them connected. And now we're going to continue on here. This is where my row left off. And okay, so we'll make that, what did I call it? It's kind of like a puff stitch, but it's not that puffy. Okay, it's a the 3 double crochet cluster. Okay, so we'll just continue. Oh, did I do my chain 1? Yes, always chain 1. Okay, do the next one. Okay, chain 1. And just keep going along here doing those clusters. And then I'll meet you right in this V-stitch. Now we're at that V-stitch, so we're going to put a cluster in there as well. All right, there's our cluster, chain 1, and then we have these 2 V-stitches, or these chain 2 spaces that we want to connect together. So yarn over, put your hook through, grab your yarn, pull up a loop, pull through 2, and then we're going to do that again. Yarn over, put your hook through, grab your yarn, pull up a loop, go through 2, and then we're going to jump over to the next chain 2 space, wrap your yarn, go through the space, grab your yarn, pull it through, grab your yarn, pull through 2, and then we're going to pull through all 4, and then chain 1. So it's still your 3 double crochets together, but it's just over 2 stitches. All right, so then you continue on, you have the next V-stitch, put your 3 double crochet together in there, chain 1, and then do your 3 double crochet together in each of these, and then just jump right over and do your fan stitch like we did before, right into the fan stitches, and continue doing that. Do that, do the cluster over 2 stitches like we did here on the other corner, of course. I mean, it's obvious. And then I'll meet you when this row is done. Now here's the second corner, so I'll show you again how I connected the 2 corners together. We're going to yarn over, we're going to do our 3 double crochet together, cluster I guess it's called, and so yarn over, go through that V, or through that's a chain 2 space, pull up your yarn, yarn over, go through 2 loops. Go in there again, grab your yarn, pull through 2 loops, and then go to your next chain 2 space over here. Do the same thing, and then you're going to pull through all 4 loops and chain 1. So it just connects the back and front together. Go in the next V-stitch and do a cluster in there. And then do clusters in all the rest here, and then do your fan stitches in the fan stitches. And I'll meet you at the end of this row. Now I'm at the end of the row, and we're just going to slip stitch into the top of that cluster. Okay, and then we're going to, well, I'm going to, if you want to continue with this, these stitches, you can, but I'm going to make, these fans all the way around now for each row until the top is the lengths I want. All right, so I have slip stitched, and then I'm going to chain 3, which will count as a double crochet, and then I'm going to go back in there, make a double crochet, chain 2, and 2 more double crochets, okay, and then go into No, I'm going to make a single crochet in the next cluster. Make a single crochet. And then in the next one, we'll do the fan again. So 2 double crochets, chain 2, 2 double crochets. And then go in the next cluster there and put a single crochet. Go over to the next one and do our fan stitch. Okay, so that's what it's going to look like. And we're only going to do that single crochet with these fan stitches when we're working in these clusters here. Okay, I'm going to meet you at this very end, this very corner cluster right here. Okay, I finished my last fan, and your stitches may not be working up in the same order mine are because of size, right? Okay, so I've come to my corner here where I've connected the back and the front together, and I have that cluster, and I've already done a fan stitch here, so I'm going to put a single crochet in the top of that cluster. And then when I go over the next cluster, I will make a fan stitch. So we're going to just have fan stitches in each round from now till we have the length we want of the top. Okay, I'll see you at the end of this row. All right, as I'm working along, when I came to the end of my clusters here, I put a fan stitch in this one. The last one here, I put a single crochet, and then I just jumped right over and put a fan stitch in the fan stitch. And then I'm going to put a fan stitch in the fan stitch. And then continue on, and I'll meet you at the end of this row. Sometimes I say I'll meet you at the end of the row, and then I meet you before that, because something else might come up. I'm always here for you. And here we go again. We're not at the end of the row yet. Okay, I put my last fan stitch in the fan stitch. Then we have this cluster here. So I'm going to go ahead and put a fan stitch in that one. And then in the next cluster, I'm going to put a single crochet. It's just if we put these fan stitches in each cluster, they'll be too close together and they might start to ripple. So that's why I do this. Okay, here's the fan. The next is we'll put a single crochet, and then in the next put the fan stitch. And continue on. Now I'm at the end of the row, so I'm just going to slip stitch into that first double crochet of that fan stitch, and then I'm going to slip stitch into the next double crochet and then slip stitch one more time right into the center of that fan stitch, and then gonna make a fan. Chain 3, which counts as a double crochet, and then a double crochet, chain 2, and then a double crochet right all into that chain 2 space in that fan, and skip to the next fan, do the same thing, the next fan, and all the way around. Put a fan in every fan until you've reached the length you desire, and then I'll meet you there. All right. I've turned my garment inside out. We're going to have to sew up a little bit along here, and this is the shoulder right here. There's the neckline. So this is the arm opening. So I tried it on and I pinned it where I want, how big I want the arm opening to be, just out of curiosity's sake. This measures almost close to 6 inches. I actually had pinned it a little smaller, and I thought maybe it'd be too tight under the arm, so I just moved it down a little bit here. Make it a little bit more open, more room. All right, so we're just gonna sew it. You can sew it any way you like. See, what I did was I counted these double crochets together, 1, 2, 3, and 1, 1, 2, 3 on the other side, and just pinned them together. And then I'm just gonna sew them. If you prefer crocheting, that's okay too, whatever you like. All right, so I'm gonna try to grab 2 of the strands on each side there and just sew. I think this is a whip stitch, I'm not really sure. So just do that till you get down to where it's already closed here, and then sew in your end. Come back and sew this end in. I like to make a knot when I get to the bottom here. And this will be under your arm, so it's not going to be noticeable if it's not perfect. I'm just going to remove this stitch marker here and see how much more I need to sew. Just a tiny bit. Okay, it's closed off. Just going to make a knot. Okay, word to the wise. This yarn actually does start to pull apart. Just seeing if mine's doing that. It doesn't look like it. Or maybe it does, but it should be okay. And just weave in your end. Oh, there, I can see it. Starting to get thinner. All right. And then cut that off. I've done the other underarm already. And I think the only thing we need to do after this is around the neckline. I'm just going to put just a single crochet around to tidy it up. If you went in the back bump of your chain, you may not have to do that. I was going to start going in the back bump. I have a video actually on the comparison of crocheting into the actual chain, or crocheting into the actual back bump of the chain, and back bump looks so much neater, and I think it would save us from having to make a single crochet around the chain, but I did not do that because of I just didn't. I should practice that, right? Okay, turn your garment back to the right direction. So it's out. I mean, your good side is out. And I'll be right back. Okay, so since I started this top with a 6mm, I'm going to use the 6mm to connect or to put a single crochet row around this top neckline. Okay, chain one, go back in the same spot with a single crochet. I'm going to try to go over these ends so I don't have to sew them in later. Okay, so put a single crochet in every chain around. So once you've covered up those two tails, if that's how you're doing it, you can go, you don't have to go all the way to the end of the tail. As long as it's buried in there pretty good. Cut it off, and then you can just continue single crocheting around the neckline. And it just tidies it up. Looks finished. And at the bottom, when you did your length, you'll end up with this stitch all the way around the bottom, so you don't really have to add an edging if you don't want to. I mean, it looks like an edging on its own. And same with the sleeves. Unless you want to make the sleeves longer, you can go around with this same stitch, or you can, use this same stitch and then make these stitches. I'm just going to leave mine just the way it is. Yeah, so I'll meet you at the end of this single crochet row. Now we're at the end of the single crochet around the neckline, so I'm just going to slip stitch into that first single crochet we made, not this this chain one. Is that the chain one? Yes, I think. Yes. So just slip stitch into that first single crochet we made. And just sew that in. Okay, I pulled it through, pulled a knot through to the back. I don't always do that, but I did that this time. So then I'll just go this way. And then cut it off, and guess what? You're done. You're done your beautiful top. I think this turned out so pretty. There's the neckline. And look how this goes. Got these puffy stitches. And they just go down part way. You could go down all the way with them. And then this cute stitch in the middle. That cute stitch will be on your shoulders. And there we go. You are done your beautiful top. I hope you enjoyed this video, and thank you so much for being here. I appreciate every one of you. Thank you for all your comments. And, you know, if you really like any of my videos, I would appreciate if you would share them to your social media. And, yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate all of you so, so much. Thank you, and have a wonderful day.